The Bernina 880 Plus loves to be clean and lubricated. So today we are working on how to clean and oil this machine. So you do want to pull out the oil. If you've got a Bernina 830, you might have like an oil pen. So one thing that I do like to do is go ahead and take our scissors and snip the thread up at the spool, and then I'm going to pull the thread down and out. So I'm unthreading the machine, and I highly recommend that you take the needle out just so you don't get stabbed along the way. And if you haven't changed the needle, it's time to put a new one in, and then go ahead and take the presser foot off. Next, you'll notice that there are no screws you have to loosen to take the throat plate off. There's a little kind of silver bullseye in this back right corner, and if I kind of put one thumb down and a second thumb, I can pop that up, and that will allow the plate to be released. Now, this is usually where you have some extra lint, so please don't blow it in, don't use canned air. You need to take your brush and brush it out. Let's go ahead and take our bobbin out of our machine. So open this up, hold your hands to your side, let it do its whole operation, and then bring the bobbin out of the machine. Now this is where you can go ahead and get in here, clean out all the lint. I mean, if you've been using fleece, you've been sewing through things that have batting in it, anything that is cotton or flannel, and really just about any sewing, you are going to discover there's a lot of lint in this machine. So if you're ever getting any error messages like it can't recognize your thread and you're like, it's threaded, just make sure it's not sensing some of that lint and go ahead and get that cleaned out. Next, for oiling this machine, you're going to start by taking your left hand and placing it underneath the whole bobbin area. You're going to resist it from moving, and as you take your right hand and turn your hand wheel towards you, you're going to notice it wants to spin back down and into the machine. So with your hand, I want you to hold it, and while you continue to turn the hand wheel, you're going to spin it until you see this open area become visible here. You can kind of see a little wire area, or just the whole fact that it's open at this point, and that's where you're going to take your oil and give it a couple drops. Your oil will kind of get pushed around that whole cylinder as you start to sew. So before you go sewing on something white, I highly recommend that you do a little kind of test sew out on some fabric. You might get kind of a grayish color of thread. Now this is kind of rotated, so what I do is I go ahead and close up the bobbin case door. Let it kind of reset back into the machine. And when it stops moving, go ahead and open it back up, and now you're ready to put that bobbin in correctly. We have done videos on how to put the bobbin in, and also to double check how to make sure your thread is in the tension underneath. So remember, bring the thread all the way to the side, down into that little groove, lift up as you pull, let it rotate 2 full revolutions, and then go ahead and cut. You can use the little mirror to double check that your thread is kind of in the little fork area. After you've done the bobbin, go ahead and close the bobbin case door. The throat plate can be replaced by first aligning the back part of that with your machine and pressing with your thumbs on the front. It should just go ahead and snap into the flush part of the machine. I always put the needle in last, so make sure you put the presser foot on next, and then flat side to the back on your new needle that you're putting in, and you are just about ready to sew. Now you notice I kind of went to hand turn that needle screw. Definitely want to make sure that you give it a little tight, not too much, don't go over tightening your needle, and then go ahead and thread the machine up and make sure you sew and test out that everything got together correctly, and then if there's any oil on that thread, you're not putting that into your project. Take your thread, lift up, wait for a second, let the machine prepare, and turn the light on for the needle threader. Come all the way down. Notice I'm still holding on to my thread off to the side with my right hand. Catch the guide right at the bottom in the needle threader and over the back for the cutter. Touch that lit button, let it thread the machine, and then take your fabric, slide it underneath your presser foot, step on your foot control, and begin to sew. It already sounds better now that I've put a little oil in the machine.